said that you needed to look at things and talk to the team, and you certainly weren't happy when you said that. Did things get better or worse when you looked at the video?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Better or worse is the way I would, look at the video. I look at the video with an eye of why didn't we get the result? Why did things in the first half not go as planned? And there are a lot of factors that played into that, but simply put, we didn't execute. We didn't do what we wanted to do, what we prepared to do, what we watched video to do. Part of that is New York did what they wanted to do, and they were very good. And we knew they were going to press. Thought their pressure gave us problems. We weren't able to play through the pressure. We didn't manage the pressure in a way that we prepared to do. So on that side of things, we didn't execute. In terms of our possession and control, we didn't keep the ball well enough. Again, a part of that's them. They closed space very well. They were extremely aggressive. We were prepared for that, but we didn't deal with it well. So we didn't execute on that side of things. We also felt we could get behind their back four. We didn't do that enough. We felt on set pieces that we could get some looks, which we did, but we didn't finish. We knew on their attacking set pieces that they were clever and creative, and we needed to be alert and organized, and I thought on that side of things we weren't. So we had a long meeting today. We watched video, we went through it, and more important than this last game is what we need to do the next game. We need to execute. We didn't last game. There are factors behind that, but at this stage in the season, the factors don't matter. What matters is points. What matters is getting the job done. And we clearly didn't do that in the first half.
And how much of that is just to lay off and Chara hadn't played in a month or something? I mean, not looking for excuses, but is that a factor?
Yeah, I mean, there are factors. Like I said, I mean, a big factor in us not executing what we wanted to do, what we prepared to do, what we trained to do, was them. New York. The other big factor is the fact that I felt, lost a little cohesion. You could see it in the first half. And why do we lose cohesion? Well, we had a couple guys out international duty. We had a couple guys out suspensions. The last time we played Ridgie, Alvis Powell, Will Johnson, and Diego Chara was August, I think it's 21st or 20th, forget the exact date, versus Houston. So that's 30 days. That went from that last game to the next game that we played those guys together, and you could see that we were, like I said, out of sync. We weren't, in a rhythm. We didn't look like a team that had chemistry. So I think that's a factor, but none of that matters right now. We need to get the job done regardless of that. No one's going to care about the factors at the end of the year. So irrespective of those things, we still, I felt, could have performed better, could have executed what we wanted to do better. We managed Phillips very well. I thought we managed the flanks very well. Those are important parts of what we wanted to do. We did those things really well. I thought we managed Phillips well. I thought we managed their wing play and the flanks extremely well. We didn't deal with their pressure well in terms of breaking it. We didn't get enough possession on the day. Part of that's not breaking their pressure to get up the field, to get position. I didn't think we threatened enough in behind their back four. With the high line they play, the plan was to get behind them a bit more, and we didn't. I counted one time where we actually got behind their back four. Part of that's not having the ball, part of that's not breaking the pressure. But I didn't think we did that well enough. In terms of set pieces, like I said, defensively, they're not a big team, but they're clever. And we knew they would throw a bunch of things, little, what I would call gadget plays and different looks, and they did. And, I thought, we went through a lot of those things, but we didn't on the field manage them well. And ultimately, when execution doesn't happen, it's always the coach's fault, all right? Players need to perform 100%, and they know that. But if there's no execution, it's the coach's fault, simple. So I need to do a better job of making sure the players execute and perform.
At the beginning of the season, what were the expectations that you and the organization, had for this team in terms of point total, finishing in the standings? And do you feel like you're still on track to meet those expectations?
Well, the expectation is playoffs every year. That's the expectation. And then obviously you get in the playoffs, gives you a chance to win a trophy.
obviously anything can happen if you get into the playoffs, but is finishing 6th, you know, would be satisfactory for you or feel like a successful season?
I think getting in the playoffs, right, gives you a chance to win a trophy. So if you're a club every year in Major League Soccer with the way it's set up that gets in the playoffs, then obviously you're a team that's healthy. You're a team that's always in position. Obviously you want to get in the highest position possible, but you look at teams over the years, LA, I don't think they're too bothered about that. They know if they get in that they'll have a chance to win it, and I think ultimately that's going to be the measuring stick always, is getting in the playoffs. You know, so I think, you know, year in, year out, if you can do that, then you're a healthy club. There's a lot of parity, there's a lot of competition. The league's set up for that parity. The better teams don't get more help the following year. The worst, you know, the teams that aren't good get help. And so it's always going to be a dogfight in this league every single game and every single year, especially in the West. So if we're a club that can get in the playoffs every year and give us a chance to win it all, and you look at LA, they've gotten in sometimes in that 5th spot, 4th spot, you know, sometimes 3rd spot, and they've won. Houston, you know, made the championship, I think it's 3 years in a row, and they got in, you know, barely every year. So I think it's about getting in, and then it's about making a run at the end. So right now we need to be focused on getting in. You know, we're 1 point off, we're hanging on by a thread. It's, you know, to get in, it's simple. We need to win more games than San Jose and RSL. If we do that, then we're in. And if we're in, that's 2 out of 3 years that we've been in the playoffs, coming off of 2 years where we weren't in the playoffs. So is it successful, not successful? I think every year if we can get in the playoffs, then we're a healthy club.
Some of your better performances before the New York game came with some reserves in, Jack, Lecheve, Alvarado. Could you maybe look to go back to some of those guys?
I mean, we're always going to look every game to do what, you know, we need to do to win. You know, so, you know, with those types of questions, I mean, the answer is yes, because we will always do what we need to try to win. We never try to do something to lose, you know. So if we think it's best to make changes, then we will. You know, so those are things that we'll definitely look at. We'll definitely look at. I don't know specifically if that's, you know, what will happen, but every game when things don't go right and you don't execute, you know, you got to look at, is it training, is it you know, personnel changes, you know, is it the opponent, you know, and you just throw it away because the opponent was that good. You know, I think this week, which is why I needed time to think about it, there were a lot of things that factored in. A lot of, you know, it's a combination of a lot of different things, and you know, but bottom line, none of that really matters. What matters is getting points. What matters is getting in the playoffs. So we have to respond, and I'm confident that we will get a response from the guys going into this next game. When you look at the last game and that team we played in New York and the way they play and their system, and then you look at the next game, there's a lot of similarities. Obviously, we're on the road this time, not at home, but the way that New York plays and the way that Columbus plays is similar. So that's why we spent so much time today, about an hour, which is the longest me I've ever had, going through tape, you know, having a chat and talking about what we need to do this week better. Because if we execute better in the things that we need to do well versus the Crew, unlike what we didn't do well versus New York, then I'm confident that we'll get a good performance and a good result.
Do you feel that, you know, maybe not executing as well had to do mostly with the tactics or the mental side and them not being mentally prepared?
No, execution is not down to tactics. It's down to actually doing what we prepared to do, what we trained to do. You know, we were well aware the game did not go any different than we thought it'd go. We knew they'd press. We knew they'd have the ball. Those are things that were clear. Those are things we talked about. And we had a plan to deal with those things. So ultimately it comes down to, you know, us not doing it. Simple. You know, we didn't do it. And a part of that is they did it really well. So if you look at a sport, right, you got two teams playing. They're trying to do something, we're trying to do something. If they do it better, we didn't execute. They did. And a lot of that had to do with them. They played very well. A lot of it also had to do with, in certain situations, us not managing things.
You talk about management and execution.
Yeah.
What about effort? Were you happy with the effort when you talked to the guys? Were you happy with their overall effort?
What's effort?
Well, I mean, I would say maybe that first goal, he was wide open, and was there a lack of hustle there, just a lack of, or was that just miscommunication? And I've seen your team more fiery than what I saw this weekend.
Okay.
Would you agree with that or disagree with that when the evaluation, just the amount of fire the team brought to the game? Were you happy with that or?
I wasn't happy with our organization. Okay, I don't think I've ever seen our team lack effort, ever. And I don't think they lacked effort in that first half. I've watched it 3 times. I don't think it's an effort thing at all. So in terms of organization, I think there were some things that didn't go right. We were stretched at times. They played through our midfield too much. We weren't compact enough. Those are the things I saw. I never saw lack of effort out of the group at all.
You've touched on it a few times, but can you give us maybe more of an idea of the approach you took in the meeting this morning and what you told the guys?
Well, it's between my players and myself. Those aren't things, I don't talk about meetings with the press.
One more question?
And just talk about Columbus. You mentioned they're similar. You've done well against good, talented scorers like Columbus. How do you, what do you see as a big challenge, or is it just getting things right from the weekend?
We got to defend better, for me, it doesn't have anything to do with effort at all. The effort's always there. This group fights hard. Every game, they're bought in. They clearly wanted to win the game. If you watch it, with a realistic eye, with a knowledgeable eye, it's obvious they wanted to win the game. It's nothing to do with any intangible qualities or mentality. It's everything to do with lack of cohesion and organization, and understanding, and a lot of that has to do with the guys not being together and guys being away. And like I said, those factors are factors in why we didn't execute, but it doesn't matter. A lot of teams lose guys, they have suspensions, but especially through the midfield, playing against a really intricate passing team where that's going to be under the microscope, I didn't think we were good enough. And we let them come through our midfield far too easy. But that had nothing to do with effort, it had nothing to do with mentality, it had nothing to do with fight whatsoever.
Thanks, Caleb.